What's going on, bud?
Hey man, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly.
Whoo, wow. I have a lovely story that I'll share with you real quick. So I'm looking at your message, right, and how to get on this thing, and then I realized I had deleted Instagram from my phone. So I'm scrambling to put Instagram back on my phone, and I'm like, holy crap. So anyway, sorry man. I'm
Yeah,
on.
that
Whew.
sucks, man. I didn't know that. Yeah, because if you use a computer, it gets dicey. Instagram doesn't like lives with computers. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't.
Yeah, man, it was weird. Then it was like, log in, and I couldn't remember my password, and it was trying to send the code. Anyways, I'm here. So, sir, thanks for having me on, man.
Dude, I appreciate you coming on, man. I be honest, when I sent like, "Hey, man, would you interested in being on the podcast?" I figured this guy's got so much stuff to do. He's so busy. You were like, "Yeah, dude, absolutely." I was like, "Yes."
Yeah, I'm all about it, man. I love doing this kind of stuff. I love getting on it and talking to people that are into it. Maybe, you know, trying to answer some questions or just get to know some people. So, trying to give you a little bit of background. Sorry, man. I'm trying not to get the bald head shine on the top of my head, but oh well, it is what it is.
It's all good, man. That shit's in nowadays. People love the bald heads.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. I got that, and I've had it for a while. Like one of the originals.
Your grandfather in.
That's right, I am.
So for those who don't know, introduce yourself. Kind of give us a background of who you are, how you got into the firearms industry, and just a brief synopsis of what you've accomplished over the years.
Yeah, folks, Mike Seeklander here, and I've been shooting guns pretty much forever. I grew up in Wyoming and Idaho, so I grew up shooting and hunting and doing that kind of stuff. Joined the Marine Corps right after high school and went right to Desert Shield and Desert Storm and became a primary marksmanship instructor. Then later on got into law enforcement. And then at some point in time in the Marine Corps, I saw some videos of these awesome guys shooting these matches, Rob Latham and Jerry Barnhart. It was one of those old VHS tapes. But I bet a bunch of your audience doesn't even know what a VHS tape is. And man, got into it and just decided, that man, I really want to learn how to do that. And I did. I ordered a bunch of books and ordered a bunch of gear and got right into it. Had my first gun built while I was actually deployed on what we call a med float, and got back and got the gun and realized that it wasn't about the gun very, very quickly after that. Um, then I went from being a Marine to a police officer, both county as well as city police officer in Knoxville, Tennessee, and then later on to the Air Marshal Service, where I took over the firearms program and kind of helped build the post 9/11 FAMS firearm programs. And of course, during all these things, I'm basically I would say shooting professionally, but shooting or trying to become a professional shooter as well. I've had some successes, lots of club and state matches, area matches, a couple nationals, IDPA level. Still Challenge production division many years ago when I used to do Still Challenge. So been around a little bit, man, and done some things. So yeah.
That's a hell of a resume. I mean, I'm familiar with you obviously in your work, and then even when I went back, I was like, okay, brush up on my Mike Seeklander. I went back and started doing some Googling and was like, holy crap, this dude has done it all. I mean,
Yeah. It's funny you say that. When I read my bio, like on a podcast or interview, I'm like, man, it really looks like I can't hold down a job because I went from thing to thing. But I promise I was always trying to go to the next thing. And, for your audience, I was always shooting and training. And that's my thing, is exploring skill, exploring technique. How do we perform at the highest levels? Either when I was in law enforcement and the military, I was doing it so, if I got into a bad situation, maybe I could use that skill. But the real truth is I love competing. I love shooting, and I wanted to try to figure out how to do it. And I'm not, I'm one of those folks that it was not natural to me to get into this stuff. I didn't just, I didn't just get out to my first match and have a lot of successes. I had a lot of failures. So I had to figure it out. And that's kind of what I do. I'm known for work ethic, maybe not my intelligence, but my work ethic. And I just keep pushing, man.
I've always said I'll take the hardest working employee over the smartest one all day.
Amen. I completely agree, man. I
So
completely agree.
So yeah, it's a long list. I think first off, being in the military, obviously you got pretty familiar with firearms pretty quick. Would you say your kind of love for it began in the military?
Well, it certainly grew in the military, but remember though, I can remember running around in the mountains, Bighorn Mountains in Buffalo, Wyoming, where I grew up, and we used to have a cabin that we would go to every weekend. And the thing that I used to do was get to the cabin. My mom would unpack the cooler and start putting whatever in the cabin, and I would start strapping guns on, man. I mean, like a 22 revolver and a little Jennings 22 auto. Thank God I didn't shoot myself with that thing. And a 22 Magnum rifle, a little Marlin 22 Magnum rifle. I mean, I had six or seven, maybe not six, three or four guns on me. And then I would just take off and I would just roam around the woods, man. So I was always kind of in love with guns and always in love with shooting. I would tell you, one of the changing points was a guy named, we used to call him Uncle John. He wasn't actually my uncle, but he was a good friend of my dad's, and he was a police officer. And he used to come to my house every winter, a couple times a year, and he brought his police revolver one time, and I got to shoot this revolver, and I'm like, oh, I love handguns. I am hooked.
Yeah.
And ever since, that's
Game
just been kind
changer.
of my thing. Yeah, I loved it, man. So
That's awesome. And then you get out of the military and you go into obviously law enforcement. You said county and state, correct?
yeah, I got hired by Knox County Sheriff's initially, and then did that in corrections and the Special Operations Response Team. And then I later got hired by the city of Knoxville, so Knoxville police officer.
That's awesome. So when did you start doing a lot of training as far as training other people? Was it
Yeah,
when you were
good.
in the law enforcement?
Sort of. So when I was in Knoxville, a good friend of mine, actually, he's the co-host on my podcast, and we do the American Warrior side together. Rich Brown and I started teaching under a small company called TACT, Tennessee Advanced Combat Training. I don't know how we came up with the name, but we started training. And in those days, I was certainly much more interested in shooting than I was instructing. I was, very introverted. I did not have this natural instructor presence. Maybe I still don't, but I think I'm much better today. But we started kind of training part time, and it was a hobby, and did quite a bit of it. And then the weird thing is, I was shooting and shooting training and going to all these classes, and then 9/11 happened, and because of I was actually at a class with Jerry Barnhart. If you don't know Jerry Barnhart, your viewers, the burner Jerry Barnhart, legendary shooter, of course. He gave me a point of contact, and I called the point of contact and went and interviewed for the air marshals. And they hired me pretty much sight unseen as a full-time instructor, and I became the lead firearms instructor when I outshot all the other instructors. Now I have basically no instructing experience.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it started kind of part-time when I was in law enforcement, and then I got hired full-time as a FAM instructor December 29th of 2001. So
that's incredible. Yeah, one of the so a guy who was my coach when I first started getting into this, Blake Lyles, just said one of the best classes he's ever taken was your 101 pistol.
oh wow, that's awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
very much. I appreciate that.
yeah. I have you as an instructor have been on my bucket list for a while. I don't know why I haven't made it happen. But I'm definitely gonna have to pop out and do a class with you.
Yeah, do it, man. My classes they're easy, they're fun. You'll love them. I think I'm very systematic. I finally have figured out kind of the flow in things. It took me 22 years of full-time instructing, so you would enjoy yourself. You're welcome at any point in time.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to make that happen. So then you become an air marshal, right?
Correct.
So mainly when you were in the air marshal service, was it mostly instruction, or did you actually go out into the field quite often?
Yeah, so when I got hired as what they called a civilian instructor. So I was a credentialed instructor, but I was not a badged air marshal. And probably 5 or 6 months into the program, if you remember, maybe you wouldn't remember, but those that would remember, we were putting air marshals on airplanes as fast as we could. And I was young. I mean, I was still a pretty young guy. All of the cadre that I taught with, they're all retired SF guys, retired special mission guys, retired Force Recon guys from the Marine Corps. And they're like, Mike, you're of age, dude. You need to go badge up and so you could fly mission status and, be on the airplanes if you want. And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe I should. And I did. And I got hired and became a credentialed FAM. So the initial, 6 months or so to a year, I taught full time. And then I became a credentialed FAM, went to Artesia, New Mexico, went to the academy. And then when I came back, I flew for probably 6 months or so before the Philadelphia field office reached out and said, hey, we're starting up a training office. Basically, all field divisions then had their own training cadre. So 4 or 5 guys or 2 guys would run it. And they said, hey, we want you to take over and start the first training office in the Philadelphia Field Division. And I did. And then later on, went back to training full time to help what we called the Phase 2 program. Was uniquely enough, it was basically taking all of the air marshals that had been through all these different training classes that were somewhat inconsistent and trying to be very consistent in the firearms and tactics and DT or combatives or whatever else. So I did both. And then as an instructor, we were required to fly once a month at a minimum. So at least one mission a month, if not a couple missions a month. So the entire time I was instructing, I was also flying. So
That's badass. So it's funny, obviously I fly everywhere, shooting as much as I do, and, business and everything else. Every single time I'm on a plane, I try to spot the air marshal. I don't think I've ever successfully done it.
yeah, you know what, man? If you know what to look for, you might know the guys or find the guys. They went from being totally incognito to those. There was a while we used to say fly coat and tie, because the Secret Service came in and took over leadership and made everybody wear suit jackets and stuff. So now you had all these big bald-headed tattoo guys with muscles wearing a suit. So we stood out like sore thumbs. And then I think they evolved and got rid of that. And I would say the guys and gals doing that job now are pretty well at hiding who they are. And they've been doing it for many years now. So they've kind of probably evolved their trade craft and can blend in pretty good. Because if you're not, as an air marshal, that's the one thing you have the fact that nobody knows who you are. And if someone bad is on the airplane and they know who you are, that's a bad thing. So you got to be really, really good at not letting someone know who you are. So
I know, and it's, I think about doing that job, and as much as I fly, y'all have to be pretty aware of everything the whole time. So it's not like you can just sit there and watch an airline movie.
No, and you can't kick back.
Yeah.
I used to think, man, airplanes, that they put me to sleep, that humming loud, I'm like, I just want to close my eyes, and you got to sit there awake the entire time. And
I know.
No, there's no going to sleep, man. But it's also boring. You just literally fly. That's all you do. And as exciting as it could be in a moment in time, it's also super boring. So,
well, yeah, ideally the ideal way to do that job is boring, I guess.
Yes, you want it boring. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure some of the guys and gals want to get into a fight, but you don't want bad things to happen on an airplane, because there's no backup. And guess what? If things go bad, it's not like, oh, well, I'll be okay. The ambulance will be here to get me. No, you're on an airplane. So, we used to say no backup, no cover, just fight it out. Hope you win.
That's insane. Yeah, I've always wondered, in the movies you see, they fire the gun in the aircraft, and because the cabin's pressurized, it blows apart. Is that real, or is that all fake? Is that all BS?
Man, that's one of the first things you learn is that all airplanes leak. And they basically have an airflow system with a cap where the pilot can turn up or down the airflow system and push more air through the airplane. So if you shoot a hole in the side of the window or the side of the airframe, it won't blow out or rip out. If you hit something and it pushed a pretty big hole out, you might have rapid decompression. It maybe would tear a bigger hole, but that whole thing no. Because people used to ask all the time, well, what rounds do you shoot? You have to shoot some sort of frangible ammo I'm like, there's no such thing as frangible ammo that would break up on the impact of a piece of plastic that's on the chair. That just doesn't exist. True frangible ammo is actually harder as you probably know, than normal ammo. So no, you shoot holes. But I heard a great instructor the other day said, but when you fire a shot, there's no such thing as a miss. And I'm like, well, what do you mean there's no such thing as a miss? He said, well, if you may miss your target, but you're not actually missing something. And that's very true on an airplane. If you don't hit what you need to hit, there are no misses on airplanes. So you're either going to shoot someone else or some important component on the plane, hydraulics or electronics or whatever else, in which case you might have a catastrophic issue, so.
That gives me anxiety thinking about it.
Yeah,
I bet that training is just absolutely insanely nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it was. Well, back in the day, they used to have the highest firearms standards in any federal agency. The original course when I first got there was called the TPC. And the TPC would probably be challenging for most higher level USPSA shooters, if you had to shoot it from, with a true carry gun under true concealment. And it was such a high level of course that the FAMs in the academy had all these 229 airsoft pistols. And they would pass the airsoft pistols down from class to class to class, because that gun handling, that manipulation, that draw process, that was the only way you were going to pass the course. If you didn't have that level of speed, there's no way you would pass the course. And here's another unique fun fact that not many people know. We were actually promoted to the next higher level based on your shooting score. So if you had a higher shooting score, you could get promoted to the next band level because of your shooting score, which is, to me, awesome. I think that's really cool. So
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's got to be intense. I'm thinking about it and going, I do not want to be in that position.
yeah,
Surrounded by screaming people freaking out, and you've got to take a shot in an area that's already pretty, closed off, and hope you don't miss, and God forbid hit a pilot or a stewardess or a passenger.
Exactly. Yeah. Think about what's in your background. I mean, it's people or windows or infrastructure. It's a crazy job. It really is. I got a lot of respect for those that still do it. So
yeah, that's got to be pretty cool. So you get out of the Air Marshal Service, and then you go from that to now. I mean, you're a full-time shooter instructor. You have your own instruction business. You have your podcast. I mean, you're just in about everything at this point.
yeah, man. Well, when I left the FAMS, I went to another federal agency for a while called FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Charleston, and taught there for a while. And then later on had the opportunity to move to Tulsa, where I'm near Tulsa now, and run the U.S. Shooting Academy. It was a big private range this guy was building. And yes, you're exactly right. I was shooting still, training, trying to win national championships. For whatever reason, I caught the bug years before. And that's where I ended up. And then that business failed for a lot of different reasons here. And then I went off on my own, man. And I've been doing my own thing, ever since, wrote a couple books along the way. And, I pretty much I travel and I teach and offer some other products as well right now. So that's kind of what I do, a little bit of consulting here and there. So
that is absolutely incredible. The U.S. Shooting Academy, that's the one where they have like Area 4 and the Oklahoma sectionals here and then, right? Is that?
I think, matter of fact, I think they might have it this year again. They're having the Oklahoma State IDPA match, Oklahoma State USPSA match. Area 4 was there, if not last year, but the year before. But yeah. It's a huge, 93 acres. They had the actual nationals here a couple times.
It's a beautiful range.
It is a beautiful range. Man, you should have seen it back in the day. I mean, it's beautiful now, I guess, but back in the day, like the berms were manicured and mowed and angular. Now they haven't taken that great a care of it, but it was absolutely gorgeous when we first built it. So it was amazing.
Yeah, every time I go there, I know, one, the berms are super high. It's going to be hot, and you're going to catch the Army Marksmanship Unit fishing in the pond.
Yeah,
that's kind of just a given.
Yeah.
But so now, how long have you? So you've been shooting professionally now for how long?
Man, I was so I had some small sponsorships. I have always, worked along with SHOT. I've never done the full-time. When I say professional shooter, I think of someone that is literally a full-time professional shooter. I've never done that. I've always either worked or taught along the way. But I've been sponsored by Wilson Combat. I'm on my second or third renewal. I'm not sure how long it's been now. It's been almost 10 years for Wilson Combat. And then I shot for ArmScore before that. And then I had some smaller sponsorships like with Smith & Wesson back in the day. So I've been competing at what we may call the super squad level. Man, I don't know how many years now, 15, whatever plus years, if you would call that professional or semi-professional level. And, now, of course, and I don't, sponsorship is not my only thing or my only gig. I still teach, as you know, travel and teach, and still, put out some content and stuff like that. So
you put out a lot of content,
I tried to, man. I set a goal a long time ago. Years ago, I started this thing called the DDC. So it was a daily dry fire challenge. It was live stream on Facebook at 6 a.m. Don't ask me why I did that. It was insane. I did it 5 days a week for a while, believe it or not, like this. I did a live show. And my goal was to get people to dry fire because something had happened. There was like a major shooting. There was like some sort of bad shooting. And I'm like, what can I do to help a bunch of people out without requiring them to go to the range or come to my class or get ammo? And I said, we can dry fire. We can work on gun handling skills and draw and different things like that. So I did that for a while. I still do live streams like I'll do one this coming Wednesday. And then I try to take those live chunks of information and throw them on the Instagram. I just want to help people out and try to teach good things, and maybe correct some of the things that I've seen in the firearms world that are maybe could be done better, and that's kind of what I try to do. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, you're so active. You literally posted like 5 minutes before this live.
Yeah, full disclosure, I got it's actually his desk behind me. I'm training my son to work with me, so he is learning to edit videos, and he's helping me with some of my posting, and I'm trying to teach him about, post timing and being responsive, and make sure I get all of the questions for anybody that asks a question, so we get them answered and stuff like that. So I have some help, although it's been me, just Mike Seaclander, for years now. So yeah, I try to stay active.
That always helps. I need to get an assistant. Try to talk my wife into it. She told me to kick rocks.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard that.
So you've been shooting for Wilson Combat for 10 years. That's a long relationship. I mean, you don't see, and I can think of maybe 2 or 3 examples of someone with, a big gun sponsorship like that for that long of an extended period of time. What do you, for the viewers that are, I guess, maybe just starting with a gun company or wanting to get involved, how did you go about, building that long standing relationship with them?
Man, I tell you, I actually wrote a small chapter in my first book on sponsorship, and I did it because I wanted to help people understand that sponsorship is not just about getting free stuff. And I laid out that chapter in a manner where I'm like, hey, here are the stupid things that I've done in sponsorship. Don't do these things. So basically, number one, find a good product. If you're not buying it on your own, if you're not willing to buy it on your own, don't accept the free stuff for sponsorship. Number two, evangelize the product. And that's one of the reasons I'm posting so much. I'm also showing off products. Wilson Combat Sig 320. There we go. I'm on your Instagram Live showing off the product.
Heck yeah, I like
it. But it's funny. It's one thing that I found that some pro level shooters that get a salary from a company, and I don't understand the company not requiring more of them, but not getting out and doing podcasts like this and not promoting the product, not evangelizing the product. If you're going to give me a product that I like and I believe in, I'm going to evangelize. I'm going to let everybody know what it is, how it is, and how good it is. And also, treat the company with respect and give them feedback. Like, hey, you put out this product and it sucks. We need to fix this. We need to work on this. And if they're a good company, they'll say, what's wrong with it? What can we do to improve it? If they say, no, our stuff is great, you need to move on to someone else. And then, man, value those relationships. I had a relationship with Smith & Wesson. They were good to me when I was there. It wasn't a big relationship, and then I later got sponsored by ArmScore, and I wasn't required, but I was allowed to shoot Rock Island Armory handguns. They're not the top end guns that maybe Wilson Combat, but that company is a fantastic company, and they're good people. And it was actually, it was saddening and kind of painful to leave them and go to Wilson Combat. But Wilson Combat offered me some opportunities that I simply just couldn't pass up. And then since then, man, I can tell you, and I know the guns are expensive. I get that. You're not going to get a Wilson Combat, for pennies on the nickel. They're high.
You're preaching to the choir here, buddy.
There you go. But the point is, they treat me so good. That company, the company is shooters. They're made up of shooters. Bill Wilson is a shooter. Whether you love him or hate him, and I love the guy. He's a great guy. He's a brilliant dude. His brain works in crazy manners. But they treat me so good. If I'm like, I need magazines, they'll make it rain magazines. If I need something to support my shooting, boom, I'm going to have it, whether or not it's on my contract or not. And man, if you can find a company like that as a shooter, man, hold on to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree with that 100%. I think a lot of people look at, the big gun sponsorships and think, oh, I'm going to get a bunch of free stuff and all I got to do is go shoot.
Right.
It's not the case.
Not the case
at all, man. Not the case at all. Yeah, I mean, you gotta put not only yourself out there, but you gotta put that product out there. You gotta do it in a respectful manner, and you also gotta be genuine with it. I mean, people see right through bullshit really fast.
100%. Yeah, they do, and that's why I'm. Normally if I'm promoting a product, I'm like, hey, full disclosure, I'm sponsored by Wilson Combat, so they know up front, hey, this is a product I'm sponsored, but I also love the products. I mean, I literally love the products. I had a guy or someone just recently in a class, and he made a comment, something like, well, yeah, anybody could do that if they got Wilson Combats for free. And I'm like, yeah, they're free for me now. They are free for me now. But let's not count the 22 years plus of buying bullets and brass and primers and spending an hour a day on a reloading press and paying for 3 to 4 classes per year and traveling to 18 different matches per year and dry firing for 30 minutes a day. And I don't know how much I've spent on ammo. I mean, I think I just passed, I'm well over 1 million rounds of shooting now. That's pretty much documented live fire shots.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's just add the expense of those things up. You're right. Yeah. That $150,000 or $200,000 spent now allows me to get a $2,000 or $3,000 gun for free. You're right. It is free, but it wasn't free. There's a long path there,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the adolescent stages of that long path, in my opinion, but it's already expensive.
It's crazy expensive, man. It really, and now, man, I feel bad for people that are hooked on the shooting sports now, because it's that much worse with ammo, and it's just hard, man. It is hard. And then people will work at it and find a way, or they won't.
Mm-hmm.
They'll do other things.
Yeah, a lot of I try to tell people, especially new people coming in the sport now where ammo is so hard to come by, dry fire is your friend. I mean,
huge.
You can accomplish probably, in my opinion, 90% of the necessary skills and movements and manipulations in dry fire, and then spend a little time in live fire and just kind of solidify everything.
Yeah, you can develop a dramatic amount of skill in dry fire. That's what I always tell people, if you go to a match and you don't perform at your best, did you ask yourself and be honest with yourself, did you do everything you possibly could to perform well at that match? And if you didn't, well, man, I could have dry fired 7 days a week. Well, literally, why can't you dry fire 7 days a week? And I'm not saying that people have to dry fire 7 days a week. That's their choice. But the bottom line is, if your manipulations weren't good enough and you lost the match because your draw wasn't as fast as someone else's draw, or your manipulations just cost you that 2 or 3 seconds overall in the match, guess what? You can only answer the question to yourself if you did everything you possibly could have. And you do, you don't, and that's the bottom line. Everybody has 10 minutes. Everybody.
Oh yeah.
There's nobody. Nobody doesn't have 10 minutes to dry fire. So, or 30 minutes maybe.
Yeah, I mean, 10 to 20 minutes is a lot of dry fire, and you do that 7 days a week. I mean, you are going to dramatically improve.
A ton, man. I used to tell people, just get your 50. Get your 50 reps of dry fire. Pick the gun up and do transitions, 50 reps. Whatever. If you have a holster on, get your 50. Do your 50 draw processes or whatever else, man. It's funny, like I said in the beginning of the show, I had to reinstall Instagram. The reason I took Instagram off my phone was, like, I'm spending way too much doing this. Now, I'm okay scrolling and looking for the questions and likes and things that mean something, meaning this person wants to ask me a question. So I want to answer. I want to see that, but I can do that from my computer. So I'm like, I'm spending way too much. If I spent 30 minutes do this and didn't dry fire, come on, man. That's lazy, right?
100%. 100%. I mean, just like with anything in life, you get out what you put in.
Absolutely, 100%.
So if you had to, one of the questions that was asked is, it was a newer shooter, said if you had to give two solid pieces of advice to a new shooter, what would your 2 pieces of advice be?
Do the work, and we're kind of addressing that, and don't quit. I think the only reason I've reached any level of success is because I didn't quit. Like, there are so many times I wanted to just quit. I'm like, I'm not making that much money at these matches. I'm not making any money at these matches. I want to quit. Even if I win a national championship, guess what? They don't give a car away. Maybe I'll go to the prize table and get a gun. In the IDPA National, I won an IDPA World Championship, and I didn't get anything. There were no prizes. It was a plaque. It's somewhere up behind me. So that's it. Do the work and don't quit if you really want to succeed at it. And if you don't really want to succeed, that's fine too. I mean, a lot of people look at me and say, well, man, you're so serious. Aren't we supposed to just have fun? And I'm like, no, when I'm going to a match, I'm going to perform. If I perform well, I'm having fun. If I don't perform well, I'm not having fun. And I don't understand. I'm not saying you shouldn't have fun, folks, but I'm saying I don't think there's an honest human out there that is failing at something. Maybe they're failing at tying their shoes. Maybe they're failing at shooting a pistol match. Maybe they're failing at getting a good grade in a college class they're taking. If you're failing, you're probably not actually having fun. I don't know if I buy that. But that's it. Do the work and don't quit, and you will see the successes down the line.
Yeah, I like it. That's good advice, man. When I was first starting, it was rough. Obviously,
100%.
it's still
Yeah.
rough. I mean, I consider myself a pretty established competitor, and every match I leave, I still look at it and go, "There's a shit ton of work to do." I mean,
You got a long way to go, man. And the weird thing is, as you do this more and get more experience, I mean, you shoot a lot. I've seen a lot of your posts, but the weird thing is there's always something else to learn. And sometimes it's not fun to learn. Like, why at my very high level of experience, I've been doing this for a lot of years, could I still, maybe, hopefully not this year too much, go to a match and shoot a stage and just have just a random brain meltdown where I'm like, I didn't even shoot at that target, or something happens weird that's like, I can't believe that actually happened. But it's happening. There's something that's causing the process. There's something in the processing. There was something in the training, the months or weeks before that. There's something that caused that, and that's kind of what I like now, man. I like to figure those things out. I like to look at a failure and go, okay, let me see if I can solve this, And that's one more thing. You said two things. Be careful, be gentle with yourself, folks, because you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. Your family's still going to love you. And once again, it's not the new car match. Phil Strader and I used to say, it's not the new car match, man. Guess what? You just jacked up a stage. You're not going to win it, but you didn't lose a new car. You didn't lose $1 million trophy. So be gentle on yourself and explore things and enjoy the process of making a mistake, because that's the only way you learn.
So funny you say that. I just, probably within the last 5 or 6 months found that part of my game where before it was like, okay, like if I don't win, like, was this all for nothing? Like, I'd beat the shit out of myself up on the way home,
Yep.
call my wife, be upset, and she's like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Like, mortgage is paid, like, chill out. What are you so upset about? I'm like, well, I sucked, I didn't win. I might have got second, but I didn't win.
Right.
And, the last probably 5 months, I really had to sit. I was really during the off season. I thought to myself, when they start cutting $1 million checks, or
yes,
I start having to survive off of this sport, then I will beat myself up. But in the meantime, I need to enjoy the process. And now like, I'm about to go shoot Dragons Cup. I'm leaving Thursday, right? I'm going there with a whole new, I wouldn't say a whole new set of skills, but some things that I worked on last weekend or the weekend before. I flew up to Colorado to train with Charlie Perez for a weekend, and we tweaked a lot of my shooting. I mean, changed a lot, not only on myself, I mean, even on my gun. I mean, we changed spring rates. We took the thumb rest off the open guns. I mean, changed a lot of stuff. And, I've been working on it. I'm going to Dragons Cup. I'm like, okay, I'm going to implement this stuff. And if it doesn't go well, I'm going to chalk it up to I don't have enough time behind the process. It's not because I'm a bad shooter. It's because I'm trying a new process. But I see so many shooters who are in the middle of developing something, go to a match, it fails, and then they just give up on that process.
Yep. Yeah, you just need more time. Another thing about that, you said something that was interesting. You said, if I left the match and I didn't win, I'm very, very careful not to go with an expectation to win. Because I don't control the other people there. I don't control those things. I can only control me. And I would love to have the result of winning. If I perform it to my best and I put the work in, it's highly likely that I will be very successful. But that doesn't mean I'm going to win. I mean, that would be like, you look at some of the elites like Tiger Woods and some of these sports professionals that for whatever reason, they were given the gift of that thing. And let's say you weren't given the gift of that thing, that skill, and you're here and you did everything. You did the work, you were mentally prepared, and you went to that thing that, let's call it the golf tournament, and you played your game as good as you could, but Tiger Woods showed up. sorry, hey, that's just part of the deal. You don't know who's going to show up. Um, so be real careful with just labeling winning and losing. We all want to win, but we got to remember that if there are 200 people at the match, if you think about it like that, then there are 199 losers. And I would prefer to think that the other 199 people are not losers. They just didn't place first for whatever reason. Another great example is, I think it was Max Michel that relayed this to me. I'm not sure. Anyways, he said at the beginning of the match, we all start by touching the trophy. Like, we're all lined up and we're touching the trophy. And then every time you make a mistake, you have to take a step back. So the person with the least mistakes is the one that's still standing there touching the trophy at the end. So that's an interesting way of looking at it, I think. So
That's a pretty cool little snippet. I never thought of it that way.
yeah. It was, I don't remember, I think it was Max that I heard it from, and maybe he heard it from someone else, but it was a really great way to think of things. But, it's not win or lose. It should be win or learn, maybe. Maybe that's a great way to think about it.
Win or learn is, yeah. So Blake Lyle was the one that said best class was your class. That's his motto. And he, every single time I leave a match and, I'm down on myself, he'll text me, win or learn. And I'm like, oh, son of a biscuit. All right, I got it.
That's right. Yeah.
But I think it takes that. I think it took me, over 100 matches to figure that out. To figure out that okay, it's fine. You're gonna be fine. Trust the process.
Yes.
Focus on the process. The results will come. Obviously, there's a glitch in the matrix. You got to find it, patch it, and go.
That's right. That's it. I love what you're saying. Follow the process. That's another great thing. In class, I'll have a student, and they'll make a mistake, and I'll ask them, what do you think you need to do to fix that mistake? And their answer is, well, I need to slow down. I'm like, oh, no. Fast or slow is not the problem. The problem is the process. You didn't follow the process of executing that shot that you needed to execute at that moment in time. So you need to focus on the process. And anytime we start to focus on extraneous things, fast or slow or an emotion or a feeling, it's not the process. You said it exactly right. The process will get you there. You just gotta stay process focused.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people get results oriented. I see it. I see a lot of my buddies I shoot with. Some of my good friends, they've been shooting for a long time. They get focused on the result, and I watch them make a mistake, and then they're like, oh, I can't make another one or I'm not going to win. And then snowball just rolling down the hill. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting steeper.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So you've obviously been around the block. I mean, you've won your fair share of matches. What would you say is, in your opinion, your most proud achievement you've had in shooting sports?
Man, that's a great question. What would be the most proud achievement? Man, I don't know. I mean, the last few years at the IDPA Nationals, probably the first ESP division win, where I think I was overall either the most or the second most accurate shooter, and I did the overall win as well. That was pretty proud. I have to say it, the two little matches that I shot, the Bug Nationals they used to hold up on the East Coast, I won that 2 years in a row. And the first time I won it, I was actually on camera. So basically, shooting gallery came up and filmed the entire thing. So I had to deal with the microphone and being on camera. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to shoot this match for the fun of it. And I did. I'm like, man, I actually shot pretty good. And had to fly out the next day, and I get a call from Michael Bain. He's like, "Yeah, you won." I'm like, "Really? Oh, wow, I won!" And it was kind of interesting to, talk the stages through, and that was a pretty fun match, because there's not, a lot of drawing or reloading. It's all pure shooting. Back in the day, there was no drawing with the Bug division, so it was just shooting. And they have, all kinds of cool stuff. That was pretty cool. And then, I certainly enjoyed the ESP wins. Those are probably the best ones I've had. So.
That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I've shot a couple IDPA matches. I've been to one IDPA major here in Texas, and surprisingly, a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was interesting.
Yeah.
The props were crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the places, man, they get creative. I mean, if you go to a good IDPA club, you can expect yourself to be extremely challenged. They're going to set some good stuff up, and whether or not you love or hate IDPA and for the rules or whatever else, it is a sport. It's just a sport. You just got to learn the rules. And if you have a good match director and a good club, they're absolutely going to be fun. And it's going to be hard. It's not going to be all easy, close stuff. It's going to be very hard, especially with the accuracy requirement. I mean, you can't not be a good shooter and do well in IDPA now, where you can go to USPSA and you can do well by hosing. You can make up for misses, with speed by hosing in USPSA. You can't do that in IDPA. You simply can't do it. You lose too much. If you shoot a miss, 5 seconds. You can't recover from that. So
It's all a game. It's just different games played in different ways. When I went and shot IDPA, I thought this is just a different game, and it had a lot of cool aspects to it. I mean, especially the accuracy part. I found out real quick you cannot make up for shitty accuracy.
Cannot, man. You got to shoot down zero.
Doesn't work that way. Yeah. So when I went literally from a USPSA match to an IDPA match, and about 2 stages in was like, ooh, okay.
That's right, man.
Okay, this is not good.
Is that Christian Saylor that's on saying Mike is a legend?
Yeah.
I see you, Christian. How are you? I'm seeing all your comments, by the way, folks. Good evening if you're watching us. Thanks for jumping on, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, dude, I appreciate you being on. Yeah, Christian, I think is on the way to being a legend in his own right, man.
He is. He's unbelievably skilled, like unbelievably skilled. I haven't seen someone that talented in a long, long time. Scary fast.
I get the privilege of shooting with him quite often. Me and him are pretty good friends, and every single time I shoot with him, I'm like, how the fuck is he getting faster? How is he getting more accurate? I was like, eventually he's got to peak, right? Apparently not. Apparently there's no peak. I don't know.
We'll see, man. I mean, he's amazing. I was actually thinking about him the other day and thinking, man, he everything about his process is tuned well. And I'm like, you know what? If he's taking more time to deal with his gun and springing the gun and finding the perfect load and working on his training, his skills, to be competitive these days, you have to do all of that. Mm-hmm. If you're not willing to do that, you're not going to be at the top. Not to mention, he's probably got a handful of natural talent and speed and hand-eye coordination and stuff like that. Information processing skill, which you younger guys have a lot more of than us older guys, because a lot of you played video games, man. So you get to process information. I did.
Hey, man, y'all have Pong?
That's right. We had Pong, and we had what is the
Miss Pac-Man?
There we go. That's not quite the same thing as playing like 5 different personalities and 6 different combative worlds and death match, whatever games you guys play. I don't know.
It's funny because he put on there a gorilla. So I don't know if you know this, but I started calling you the silverback gorilla because the first time I met you at SHOT Show, it was funny because I think JJ was right there, but I shook your hand and I was just like, holy shit. And JJ was like, it feels like iron, right? I was like, he's like a fucking silverback gorilla. He was like, I know.
Silverback, I like it. I'll take that, man. I'll go with that.
I've been calling you the silverback gorilla, and I know a lot of other people do. So you might have to get that nickname somewhere on the jersey, silverback.
Yeah, maybe I will. I'll put the silverback up there somewhere for the followers.
So when people get into this sport, a lot of the times what people find is, they get nervous to go to their first major match. I got a lot of guys who I've met over the years at local matches who tell me, I'm not good enough to go to a major, What would be some advice you'd give to those guys to kind of get them out of their shell?
Well, a major is, it's just like 2 club matches. It's just more stages, and if you said it earlier, that if you are following the process, if you understand that the process of shooting well, you just need to, you need to go with no preconceived notions in terms of, I'm going to be nervous because now I'm shooting a major, and there are certain things you can do, when I talk about visualization, I'm not just talking about stage planning, but I'm talking about visualizing your ability to go to a major, and then you see a nationally known shooter that you normally wouldn't see, and you see all these stages and have all these, they're painted better and they got these big banners. All those things get inside your head. But at the end of the day, to those shooters, they need to realize it's just a stage. It's just a target. Your gun shoots the same. The target is the same. That's all it is. It's just shooting. And the only way they're going to get used to that is to go to it. It's just like when they shot their first club match. The first club match was probably like, oh, I was so nervous. I don't even remember what happened on the stage. Yeah, so what? You forgot what that was like because it was years ago maybe. It's going to be the same way at a major match. And the only way you're going to be able to perform at the top is to go to those things. You have to have that experience. In my book, I talk about these modules of success. And one of the modules of success in this kind of circular diagram that I did was information processing at the higher levels, which means you have to go to a match to get that. You can't simulate it in training. You cannot set up anything in training. I don't care if you train with Christian Sailor, awesome shooters. You can't simulate it. You have to go to a match. And that's the thing, if they're kind of afraid of a major, that's what they need to do. They need to go to a major, and then they need to go to another major. And then when they need to convince themselves, you know what, man, it's just a stage. It's just a target. I'm going to go shoot the target as fast as I can, and I'm going to try to get as many points from that stage as I possibly can. And also, I used to tell people, every time you shoot a stage, you have this bucket, right? And you put that stage in that bucket. And the more good stages you have in your stage bucket, the better off you are. The more you go blow it out your behind and have bad stages, that's ingraining something, right? So just go and shoot good stages. Go run the race. And realize it's just a race, but you got to go run it to experience it,
Yeah, I like that advice, man. That's pretty good. Because that's kind of what I tell them. Like, you just got to go do it. It's just like anything. It seems nerve-wracking until you go. And I mean, I get caught up sometimes. Like every time I've gone to a nationals, and I've been to quite a few of them now. You get there and you see everybody and you see all the pros and everything else, and you're like, oh man, it starts to build up in your mind and your heart starts pumping, and you just kind of got to go, wait a minute. Okay. You shot 20 majors this year.
That's right.
Like, is this any different? No. Same people are here.
Yep. That's right.
So
but you've labeled it. You've put it in your mind as something bigger and badder than it actually is, man. But you're exactly right. It's just what it is. One more thing about that is I try to tell my students, they're like, man, I just get so nervous. I'm like, good, that's okay. They're like, what? But how do you not get nervous? I said, I don't. I get nervous as shit. I'm scared to death. I'm really, 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 really nervous. Rob Latham has won probably more nationals than anybody I know. And when I asked him that question hanging out one day, he's like, I'm scared to death. I'm always scared. I'm very, very nervous. That's probably why I'm joking so much, because I'm nervous and I'm trying to get rid of some of that nervous energy. So don't try to not be nervous. Be nervous. It's okay. And when you get that little flutter, right before you're about to shoot a stage, it's okay. That's natural. And once we learn to embrace that, I call it, in my mind, I'll call it my little turbo boost, Do you remember, what was the name of the show with Knight Rider? Or I don't know if you're too young to know that show.
Yeah, with Kit.
Knight Rider, yeah, it's Kit. And he used to have that button he would push, and it was turbo boost. And it would make the car go super fast or whatever. I'm like, man, when I get that little flutter in my heart, I'm like, oh, turbo boost. So instead of being afraid of it and not liking it, I'm like, I like that. That's going to make me go a little faster. That's going to make me, grip the gun a little bit harder. So don't try not to be nervous. Just be nervous and say, oh, I'm nervous. I kind of like how this feels. It is what it is. So
the Hoff, yeah. Hasselhoff.
That's right. Hasselhoff, Knight Rider.
Yeah. Layden would know. He's a huge Hasselhoff fan. I think I saw a picture above his bed of Hasselhoff in some cheetah print underwear.
Probably so.
Probably. I can't confirm or deny. No, so you said in your book, so how many books have you written?
Man, I have 3 primary shooting book, and then I have a book on instructing. I have a competition handgun training program, defensive handgun training program, and defensive rifle training program. And then the 4th primary book is The Art of Instruction. It's for firearms instructors, and it's about instructing. Actually, it's for any kind of instructor. It's written in a manner where anybody that instructs anything can learn from that book. But the first book was Your Competition Handgun Training Program, and it's a full training program inside the book. So
where can people find those books?
Man, probably just go to the web store. Amazon still has them, but if you just go to my website, if you can't remember shooting-performance, just remember my name, Mike Seaclander. MikeSeaclander.com will redirect you, and you can find pretty much anything you want about me on that website.
That's awesome. When we get done here, I'm gonna go find them. I'll put a link in a story because I'm already getting text messages from people asking them about the books. So I'm seeing them flopping down here.
The book is interesting. I don't know of anybody that has put together such a comprehensive program. And understand, it's not just a bunch of shooting drills. When I wrote the book, I had amassed like literally maybe 1,000 pages of notes over years of shooting, and I was doing a program called Beachbody. It was this fitness program, and the way this Beachbody program, no, it was P90X. It was by a company called Beachbody, but it was broken down into these phased programs that got increasingly more difficult. I'm like, man, I really like that concept. So I broke the book down into 3 phases, and I broke the book down into 3 training sessions. And I still train to this day like that. Like I have basically a fundamental skills development session, and then I have a positional session, and then I have a pure movement session. And sometimes I'll alternate, my fundamental with more what I would call specialty skills, like just draw to support hand, draw reload to support hand, pick up off the table with this, something weird that we wouldn't see a lot, but every once in a while we need to address. And it's a very comprehensive program, but it's modifiable, and it's kind of unique. I think I don't think anybody else has ever done anything like it. So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, I need to get that book. I don't have that book. How do I not have that book?
I don't know, man. Let me know. I'll send you all the books. I'll be happy.
Yeah, I gotta get in on that book because I love. I'm constantly trying to evolve and learn. Yeah. I know I look stupid as hell, but I was actually really intelligent in high school and college. So I'm a real big I read every day. I try to read at least a book a week, if not 2 books a week. So constantly reading and learning. So I got to get those because I would enjoy going through it. And I'm sure.
I'll send it to you, man. Yeah, just let me know. You don't have to buy it. I'll send them to you, and you'll enjoy. And they'd be interesting for you because whether or not you would follow the full program, I think that shooters would be so much better off if they constantly went to the range with a specific plan. When you get to the higher levels, you probably don't need to follow this drilled approach maybe that I have written. But then again, honestly, I'm actually going to print out my program for the Carry Optics Nationals. I'm going to modify some of the drills and make them harder, and I'm going to follow my program training for the Nationals this year. Because every time you go to the range, you'll have exactly what you're going to do in that particular session. Can you do more? Can you add to it? Can you modify? Of course you can. But man, go into the range with a plan, and instead of going, what do I do today? What am I going to work on today? I think I'm kind of weak in this area. You get a plan, and it's always changing. Every time you go to a training session, it's different. So
I did that for the first year and a half. I was taking the sport seriously. I would just go to the range and waste a shit ton of ammo and a lot of money and not accomplish nothing,
Right.
And then once I talked to some really intelligent people in shooting, they said, well, what's your training plan? And I'm like, I shoot a match, and then I look at what I sucked at, and I go work on that. Right. Dude, it kind of sat me down, and I had a few guys go, look at my training program. And then I looked at it and was like, holy crap, I suck.
Yeah.
So then, and that takes time to develop. I mean, because everyone's different. But if you see a program like yours where it breaks it down, like X, Y, and Z, and then people can adjust it for themselves and make it their own.
Yeah, and you should be adjusting your program. You should be going through some sort of systematic training, and then you should be evolving and just adjusting that based on what you find in the match. So if you're doing the program and you go to a match like you said, what you just said is actually not a bad thing, but what you need to do is apply that to your systematic program, not just randomly hope you'll find something in the match you need to work on. So you're always working on fundamental skills. And another thing, I'm always working on shooting. Shooting is not that complex. It's stop the gun on target, create alignment, verify alignment, and then be able to pull the trigger without disturbing alignment. And I just said that in kind of a short, simple manner, but the real truth is there's a lot more in that statement that I'm not saying. Like, stopping the gun on target is a thing. Creating alignment is a thing. And how do we verify that we have alignment? Everyone's like, well, you got to see what you need to see. Well, what does it actually mean when you're talking about that? Well, it means that we verified that we created alignment. Sometimes that doesn't mean we find the sights at all or see the dot at all. We just shoot at the target. We don't need to. We're like pointing our finger. and there's a lot to learn in that process if you dedicate yourself to shooting. So
I just went through that literally a weekend or two ago when I was with Charlie. We went over um, my transition speed. I thought it was fast, right? But then throughout the off season, I'm putting my all my shooting videos. I don't know why I just blacked out. All my shooting videos against Christian, JJ, Max, you know, stages that I had shot that they had shot that we both have video of. And I noticed, like, hey, the big difference is these guys transitioning on partials and at distance is where I'm losing time. And
of course,
on most stages, there are going to be partials and there's going to be some type of distance. And if those guys can gain a tenth on 3 of those targets, hey, there's that almost half a second that I lost.
that's it, man. It's that magical time when we're like, how is it possible they outran me by 3 seconds? Well, it's not just possible. It actually happened. It's on a timer, unless the timer didn't pick it up, which we know doesn't happen very often. It actually happened. And the only thing that could possibly be done different is they either shot the gun faster, they moved the gun faster, or they moved their body and they're ready to shoot sooner. That's it. That's all there is in shooting. So the time exists there. Like, you did a great job of analyzing your videos and figuring out that's where the time is. And once you figure out where the time is, then you can start breaking down the micro components of that element of time and figure out how to improve it.
Yeah, it was wild. We spent 2 long, hard days in very, what I would say, shitty cold weather. I mean, I'm sure it was like summer up in Colorado, but I'm from Texas. I don't like 50 degrees is cold to me. I got wind burn on my nose. I was not happy about it.
Yeah.
But and it was 3 small adjustments in my body positioning, my grip, and my foot positioning and how my hips and knees were oriented. Those little micro adjustments caused me to take what was a very consistent transition that I thought was quick and drop it substantially, consistently.
Yep.
And I was like, son of a bitch.
Little things matter, man. I just taught a class just the other day, and we talk. When I talk, I don't say, well, here's the stance, here's your grip. I say, let's talk about the structure, because then that gives people understanding the whole thing is a structure. From my foot all the way out to the gun is the structure, and everything is interrelated. And then that makes people think differently about it versus just, well, stance. That's not that important, right? Because my feet are going to go. Shooting is important. It's up here. No, it's directly affected by what's going on down there.
Yeah, it was insane how much that translated to transitioning the gun from target to target, especially on the move. I mean, blew my mind. So then you go, okay, well, and then there was the fitness aspect of it. Obviously, my wife helped me out with that over the off season. I was looking at that. I found transitions pretty quick, and I was like, where else are they getting me?
Yep.
And I was like, honey, fresh set eyes. What do you see? She goes, well, they're all in really good shape. You're fat. I was like,
ouch.
Okay.
Hey.
Okay.
The truth,
dude.
man. Truth.
She's a savage, but she's a loving savage.
You gotta love the honesty, man. Hey, if you're out of shape, it's a physical sport. These guys and gals are athletes. They're athletes. So if you don't want to be an athlete, you're never going to be as good. Interesting.
Yeah, it was a come to Jesus meeting with myself really quick, because I used to be in phenomenal shape, especially when up until about 4 years ago. And then she was like, yeah, that's the difference. I'm like, okay, I am going to change that. So
there you go. Well, the good news, if you were in phenomenal shape, you can go back there. You've been there. It's just you got to go back to certain habits. So
it's coming back far faster than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, good. That's good.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily a silverback gorilla like you, but
hey, man, I'm not quite timed out in the physical fitness, but I do find myself seeing things that I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that as fast ever. So I got to find other areas that I can do that. Like, how do I gain some time without being able to run JJ Ricasso speed? Because I'm not going to be able to do that. I have 2 total hip replacements too, but
holy
I stay
shit,
light
I didn't
and
know
lean.
that.
Yeah, man, I have 2 totally fake hips. So
when did that happen?
Man, I had my hip replacements. I guess they must be 7, 8, 9 years ago. I had them back to back, 6 weeks apart. The short story version is, as a younger gentleman, I didn't just shoot; I was also fighting. So I was doing full contact karate and training and then doing these long, powerful leg kicks on heavy bags and stuff. And man, put a bunch of wear and tear on my body and didn't listen to anybody that told me, you know, Mike, you shouldn't throw 300 heavy leg kicks on a heavy bag every single day. And I'm like, I'm going to keep leg kicking. And then eventually got to the point where my hips were just not holding up and I was in a lot of pain. And two total hip replacements from a really, really good surgeon here in Tulsa. And I've been very fortunate ever since. So.
You're young to have 2 fake hips.
Yeah, man. Well,
how old are you?
I'm 50. I just turned 50. So I'm not that young, but you're right. When I got the surgery, the people, the doctors and nurses, they're like, "You're getting a hip replacement?" I'm like, "Yep. Yeah, man. Did a lot of wear and tear. A lot of bad things to
42,
my hips."
43 double hip replacement. Holy
yeah, I think it was
crap.
41. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I'll be honest with you. I've watched a lot of your videos. I did not know you had fake hips. You move good
Not a
enough.
lot.
I did not.
Not
I
a
would have
lot of
never
people
guessed.
did. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I still do everything. I'm maybe do things I'm not quite supposed to. I'm not supposed to do long distance running, you know, with hips. There's a dislocation issue. So I try to keep hip strength as much as I can and a lot of single leg stuff. But I just throw some kicks that I'm not supposed to. I still do jujitsu and I still shoot, you know. So I do a little bit of everything. So.
That's insane. And you're still going at it. Still doing jiu-jitsu with 2 fake hips?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Golly, I've got no fake anything, and I can't roll for more than 45 minutes without throwing up.
Yeah, hey, just keep pushing, man. That's what it is.
That's insane, man. Well, that's unbelievable. So what do you what's your schedule look like this year? What's your next big major match you're going to be going to?
Well, we have the single stack nationals coming up in 2 weeks, so I'll do the single stack nationals.
I'll be there for that one.
Oh, sweet, man. Are you? Is that single stack in production? Is that the other division, or is it limited 10? And
I'm shooting limited 10.
Yeah, so it's single stack, limited 10 in production.
Yeah,
right? I think. Yeah. So, well, good, man. I'll see you there. I'm shooting that, and then after that, it's an IDPA match, the Rocky Mountain Regional. And then after that, I think I'm going to switch over and start shooting maybe some carry optics this year. So,
shit, son! Gonna go to carry optics nationals, give them the business.
I am going to go. I don't know if I'm going to give them the business, but I'm going to go and shoot, man. Old dude like me, you know, what'd you call me? Silverback like me. I got the vision stuff going on. So now if I don't want to wear super. So guess what? Optics, I don't have to wear those glasses, man. So yeah, I just see the dot.
There you go. It's really that simple. It's just you see the dot, you pull the trigger. It's really easy.
Boom.
Yeah. People say, what, is open hard? No. I mean, you see the dot, you pull the trigger, and you just do it quickly.
Gun basically shoots itself.
Pretty much. It's like a Tesla. It drives itself. You just sit there and look pretty.
Exactly.
No, but that's pretty cool, man. You shooting carry out. Have you shot carry optics before, or is this kind of your first venture into it?
No, I did shoot whatever year. It was pretty new. I don't remember how many years ago that was. I remember the Nationals was in Barrie. It was at PASA. So that had to have been multiple years ago, 6-7 years ago. And I shot the carry. I borrowed a CZ with a top end with an optic on the top end. Angus sent me I had a CZ. And he sent me a top end with an optic, and I was shooting maybe for Smith & Wesson back then. I don't remember. But I shot it, and I was like 5th or something overall, which wasn't bad for just jumping into it. So for an old dude. So
an old dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Shit. I mean, what's Max now? He's got to be getting up there.
Max Michel? Oh, man, I don't know. He's still pretty young to me. He and JJ are the same age. What does Max got to be? Max has to be almost 40 probably.
He's got to be older than 40. I know JJ just celebrate like 41 or 42 or something?
Oh, let me think. He was still in the Max and JJ both have to be 10 years younger than me. They have to be at least. He may be in 40, 41. I'm 50, so he's got to be 40, 41 maybe, 42.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, I mean, dude, I think you still got a pretty long time at the top. I don't see that fading anytime soon. Just like those guys. I mean, think about Jerry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Think about Rob.
That's the great thing about shooting, man. The longevity. I mean, last year Rob Latham came the second time in the row and beat us all at the single stack, man. I'm like, How is that even possible? It's because he's a better shot. Yes, we're gaining time on some stages where there's lots of movement, but he's a better shot and he doesn't make mistakes. And he, once again, it's the three elements of time. You can shoot the gun faster, you can move the gun faster, or you can move your body faster and be ready to shoot. He's really, really good at moving the gun faster and shooting faster. He doesn't move his body as fast as he used to, but I mean, the fact that he beat us the last 2 years in a row at the single stack nationals. So if he didn't time out yet, that leaves me some hope. If I can get my head out of my butt, I can.
Yeah, because I mean, he's up there. I mean, he was probably around when the 1911 was invented.
Yeah, before. Yeah,
just kidding. Probably. Rob, please don't punch me when you see me next time. That was a joke. He probably doesn't even listen to this program. No, but yeah, I got to watch. So when I was at Single Stack Nationals last year, I watched you guys, the Super Squad and Single Stack. I got to watch you and Rob and a couple other people shoot, and I was just like, holy shit. I mean, you think about y'all are kicking the shit out of me, and I'm half your age, in some cases a third of your age, and I'm like, oh my God, I got a long way to go.
Well, the good news is, man, you're into it. You'll be a better and better and better shooter. I mean, I'm still getting better at shooting, and I know I physically can feel myself. I'm not timed out, but I can feel, okay, I can't move quite as fast in and out of position. I can't push off quite as fast, but I'm still getting better at shooting, and I'm finding elements of time that I didn't before. So yeah, and it's fun. I still enjoy exploring. I still enjoy, I'll never quit now. I mean, if I go screw up this year, then I screw up. It is what it is. And I just go on to the next match, and I learn from it, and it is what it is. So,
what do you say you prefer more, shooting a big match or instructing?
Oh man, or shooting or instructing. If you would have said shooting a big match or training for a big match, I would have said training for the big match. Because the big match it's the pressure, so I don't look forward to the pressure necessarily. But then again, instructing, I'm falling more and more in love with instructing. Although instructing is, for me, it's the hardest job I've ever done. I've done a lot of different jobs. Instructing is incredibly difficult if you're doing it right. If you're a good instructor, man, instructing is just mentally exhausting. It really is. And I hope I'm a better than average instructor, at least an average instructor. But man, I really like shooting. If I wish I could just go back to shooting full time. Like I wish I had, I didn't have to teach as much. I wish I could just explore, and maybe take a whole year and just explore competing. Maybe do a little private here and there classes, but not much. Just compete. That's what I would love to do. So I'm looking for a sponsor that can pay me like $1 million, and then I'll just do that. I'm not sure who that would be. Maybe Wilson Comet. Hey, I'm doing a great job showing your guns off. I need a raise, Wilson Comet.
Yeah, hey, listen, he's put the Wilson up here a couple times. I imagine we sold a few.
There.
So
exactly.
I mean, that's about $1 million.
At least $1 million. They're probably buying those guns like crazy right now. So.
Well, I mean, you could always hit up Tesla. I mean, you can hit up Elon Musk. He's buying everything nowadays.
Good points. Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe I get him on the range.
Yeah, maybe. Hey, dude, crazier stuff has happened.
Yeah.
Crazier stuff has happened. We have a famously Democratic mayor in Houston. And we had a range day not too long ago, and some of the Liberal Party came by the range to check it out, and we real quickly had them shooting some full autos and some other stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, you still up for all this gun control stuff? And they were like, well, this was pretty fun. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah, wasn't it? So
exactly.
If those people can come out and shoot, I imagine Elon Musk will be down. Just hit him up.
I'd say so.
Just be like, hey, dude, I'm a badass. You're a badass. Yeah. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, no kidding. I agree, man. I'm all about it. I would love to shoot with some of those dudes and change their mindset. And it's funny you say that. They come out and they shoot guns and they enjoy themselves and they realize that guns are not jumping up and hurting people. That they're just things. That's all they are. So the more people you expose to firearms like that, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So I wanna ask you a couple more questions. I don't know how much longer you want to go.
I'm good. I'm whatever amount of time.
Okay. All right. So I want to ask you a few more questions. So, in your opinion, what was kind of do you think that the sport was, I guess, better back in the day, or do you prefer how it is now? Because I see videos from back in the day, from the matches that they were shooting, back in the early 2000s and, late 90s and even mid 2000s. And I'm like, holy crap, man, these things look huge. It looks like a bass fishing event back then.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It was that's a good question. Is it better today? I think that that's a hard one to answer. I suppose if I had to pick, I would probably pick to go back and do things like maybe like we used to. I like a standardized stage system that has several small and several medium and several large. I like the shooting challenges. I like the matches back in the day where it was a shooting challenge, not a hose fist. If you can run fast and pull the trigger real fast, you'll succeed at. I don't like those. I think everything should be a shooting challenge. We should always challenge the shooters in that manner. I think back in the day, you might have found more of that. Back in the day, the standards were also very, very difficult. Like if you could do well and win the standard stage, you were a really good shot. And sometimes I don't think you always see that. That said, we have had some good matches in the last few years that were just fantastic, where they went back to that. The shots were really hard and challenged everybody from the basic level all the way to the top level. Should the matches be more physical? I know some people say, well, they shouldn't be physical. It should be a shooting contest, but it is supposed to be an athletic endeavor. It's supposed to be practical shooting. I don't like gimmicks. I tell you that if I would do anything at all, I would eliminate the gimmicks. Like if someone loses a major match or a nationals because of a gimmick and the gimmick went wrong, I think I have an issue with that. You know what I'm saying? And there's some gimmicky things out there, as you know.
I.e. the roller coaster at Area 1 this year, or the last year. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
So the roller coaster at Area 1 was fun. So heavier, you're hauling ass. Lighter, you're barely moving, right?
There you go. Yep.
So then eventually they had to lift it to try to get everybody the same. All that did, heavier, really, really fast.
Even faster.
Lighter, fast. So it was interesting. There was a few other things they did that you're like, what the hell's going on? So I get what you're saying on that front.
Yeah. I mean, I understand. And a lot of times that's just a stage designer or match director trying to do something fun and interesting. And I respect that, and I love them for that. But I think they should always check themselves. Is this within some realm of practicality, number one? And is this a gimmicky trap where someone may have a disastrous stage just because of the gimmick factor, not because of his or her shooting skill? I think the outcome should be determined by shooting skill. Always, 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 always. It's a shooting sport, and that's my only problem. That's what I would say is some people get too gimmicky. So,
do you like how IPSC does it, where they go, certain amount of small, certain amount of medium, and a big?
I love that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. IPSC kind of has their game, and I haven't shot a lot of pure IPSC matches. I shot the European Championship, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and came second overall. That was a match where I was young and stupid and threw it away on the last stage, by the way. Some of the stuff you and I were talking about. Yeah, I was winning the match. I didn't really think I was, and my buddy Phil said, yeah, you're probably winning right now on the last stage. I just shot over the top of a bunch of targets and knew I was shooting misses. And actually that led me to write a portion of my book about the mental section. But yeah, I do like the two or three.
Sorry, you cut out there. You like the what?
Yeah, sorry, man. My phone gave me a low battery. It's like 10. I got plenty of power, I think, but I guess it was notification. Sorry about that. So.
Oh, you're all good.
I do like the 2 or 3 small, 2 or 3 medium, and a couple large filled courses. So.
Yeah, I've shot a few of those matches like that, and it feels like a good mix. I've been to some matches where it's 14 stages, 32 round field courses, shit ton of running, and all the targets are super close, or a shit ton of parcels at 5 yards.
Yeah, I don't like that, man. Yeah,
it's so old, so fast.
Yeah, I like stuff where we go to and where when you get into the position, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm having to work so hard to aim at that target. that's the kind of stuff I like. I'm like, well, I was challenged to hit that shot at the speed I was trying to hit it. That I love that kind of stuff. So
We got to get you out to Dragons Cup next year. This year, obviously, it's happening. I'm leaving for it 3 days. But Dragons Cup next year, we got to get you out there. That would be,
yeah,
you'd love that match. That's more of, it is a testament to testing skill without gimmicks. I mean, it
I
is
love it. I love it.
medium,
If it's like that,
medium,
I'm in,
small,
man.
large. Dude, it's awesome. The
Yeah,
stage designer out
I'm
there,
in.
Billy Dodson, he designs all the stages. He's been around the game quite a long time, been a match director for quite a long time. His stage design, in my opinion, is second to none. The guy, he knows what he's doing. So,
Yeah, very
and
cool.
he's a high level shooter who looks at it and goes, how can I make this not only difficult for the high level shooters, but obtainable for most people? And kind of he's real big into, he likes to tease you. Like,
Yeah,
he's like, oh, I'm going to put this. I'm going to put a partial at 11 yards, and then another one at 20 yards. And I'm going to put an open paper at 35, and then
yeah,
another partial at 14. And you've got to hit that through this small port, right? And it's a good, nice size window, so you can maybe hit it all in one position, but it's going to make you want to go slow, slow, try to go fast, slow, or you're just going to
yeah,
try to blaze through all that. He really works on how to, that might be a bad example, but he knows how to set up a stage where you're just
yeah.
like, you get done and that was a good one.
That's awesome. And if he's a high level shooter, that's the best person in the world to look at a stage and really kind of refine it to the point where it's a shooting test, not a gimmick test, but a shooting test, but it's still fun. But like you said, it can be shot from by a lower level shooter or a top level shooter as well. So
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a whole lot of fun. So, man, this has been a pleasure. This has been a pleasure.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, thanks for having me on, man.
man, I appreciate you coming on, and I'd like to, dedicate the next, minute or so, or however long you're wanting to do it, but kind of go through where people can find you, some sponsors that you want to shout out, and then, maybe your training class schedule or where people can find you for training, or if somebody wants to schedule training, how they go about that.
Cool. Yeah, folks. If you're listening or watching this right now, just go to MikeCClander.com. That'll redirect you to my primary website. And it's pretty easy to navigate. When you get to that, you'll see, several different options on the homepage, classes. You can find all of the training classes that I have scheduled this year. I do have some open slots. So if you're interested in jumping into class, get in soon, because a lot of these are actually filling pretty quickly. As well as training programs. There's some digital online programs. There are a couple of membership areas that are riddled with pretty good content and full programs you can follow along. And pretty much everything you want to know about me is on that website. We do a podcast as well, similar to this, but we record it, called The American Warrior Show. I do that with my partner in crime, Mr. Rich Brown, in the American Warrior Society. You can go to AmericanWarriorSociety.com to check that out. But really, if you remember my name, MikeCClander.com, you can check that out. Of course, like I said, I've been showing off some of the guns. I'm a Wilson combat shooter. You'll see those guns in all of my Instagram posts. I have a alumni that built a Seaclander signature line of his fast holster. Of course, it's the beautiful Stars and Stripes, which is kind of by my choice. So that's my holster sponsor, and I work with great companies and great people. If you're watching this on Instagram, if you haven't followed me, maybe give me a follow. I try to put good shooting tips on there. And they're not all, as you probably know, they're not all competitive stuff. I do some low light stuff and some defensive stuff and rifle things, and I just try to teach people what I can teach them. So
That's awesome, man. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on this podcast.
well, thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. I love this kind of stuff, man. I love to get in front of people and talk and answer questions. And if someone has a question about something I maybe talked about that didn't make any sense, just send me a DM or drop me a line.
We'll have to do it again. I think what I want to do is I'm going to come take a class, and
Yep.
then I say we do another podcast after that.
Do it. Let's do it, man, because that would open your eyes up to everything that I'm putting out and teaching. You would enjoy that. So just pick one and let me know, man. We'll do a class or a private later on in the year, whatever you want to do, and then we come back on, and then we can dig into the meat of things, meat and potatoes, and say, hey, man, here's what I'm teaching, and maybe something different than you've heard from someone else. You could explore that. That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd be super jazzed for that.
Cool, man. Let me know.
Yeah, we definitely would do that. But Mike, dude, I can't thank you enough. This was fun. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. I'm already getting a bunch of messages and text messages, and the comments have been blowing up. So I know this is going to be a hell of an episode, and people are going to enjoy it. You have a class at Cameo this month.
Yeah, I do, man. After the Rocky Mountain Regional. There's a 2-day kind of a diagnostics class where we're going to set up portions of a stage and see if we can diagnose the mistakes people are making. So, yeah.
Ooh, and that's going to be after Low Cap Nationals?
It is after low cap. It's maybe a week after that or 2 weeks. I'm not sure. I have to look at the calendar. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm going to have to look at that. If I could jump in, I'll jump in.
Yeah,
But
check it out. So it'll be more IDPA stylish and shooters, but anybody can shoot it. It'll be about diagnosing, problem areas on a stage. I'm not even sure what we're going to set up. We're going to have fun and shoot. It's a beautiful range. So.
heck yeah. Well, dude, this has been awesome. Thank you so much again for coming on. You're a legend. You're on my what I like to call my Mount Rushmore. I got a Mount Rushmore of shooters that I have, and you're definitely up there. So I can't thank you enough. This has been awesome.
Well, thank you very much, man. And to all your followers and people watching, thanks for jumping on. We appreciate it a bunch. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Mike Sleeklander, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you again.
All right. Stay safe, man. Take care.
Yes, sir. You have a good night.
You too, bud.
That was awesome. That guy's a legend. He's such a nice guy, and he is a plethora of knowledge. So if you are a new shooter or even a well-established shooter and you're wanting to take your game to the next level, go to MikeSeeklander.com. Check him out. Do a class. I'm going to go do a class. But everyone I talk to, even, some of the top pros that I've taken classes from, JJ Max, they all say, he is just an abundance of information with a great way to teach. So definitely go check him out. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you. You're the reason I can do this. And I hope you enjoyed it. I got some big announcements coming up pretty soon. Going to be working with a few different people on some stuff, and then just some other basic announcements. But that'll come out when it comes out. And should be dropping a lot more podcasts this year, obviously. I mean, we've done a bunch of episodes back to back to back, but it's about to get real crazy. My schedule for the podcast is filling up quick. I think we may have to start doing a weekly podcast. I'm not sure if we're going to hit that yet, but we're coming up on the point where a weekly episode may be necessary. So thank you for listening this far, and I'll see you